Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word for Everton 2, Rotherham United 1 in the FA Cup. Everton negotiating their way to the fourth round in typical Everton fashion. We are both in our dungeons for this final word due to COVID regulations.
Yeah, COVID protocols.
Yeah, the protocols are in place for COVID for today. Not that either of us have got COVID. It's just that it's the protocols for today are dungeon dwelling. Listen, I don't know what we can really say on this one. We knew there was going to be changes. Obviously, there's no Richarlison, no Dominic Calvert-Lewin, no Jordan Pickford. We knew he would change it up a little bit. He had obviously James Rodriguez back, Luca Dean back, and pretty much, the team on paper was a strong side, wasn't it? It's a team. It was a team that should have dealt with Rotherham in a professional manner, and yet really failed to, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the changes were there, weren't they? As you said, we knew they were going to be made. It still looked like a good enough team to go out and to get through. And ultimately, that's what they did. That's all that matters, really, that they're in the draw for the fourth round. But it's just, we've just seen loads of times from Everton in those kind of games. And I think that's the frustration. I mean, I thought we started the game really well. The opening 15 minutes. We were on top of them, smothering them like we should have been. Got the goal, but just failed to build on it, and then done that thing that Everton do a lot, which is if the game's comfortable, they drop down to that level of comfort, almost like this is easy. And then once they lose the rhythm, they then seem to struggle to be able to get it back. And you've got it, like I said on me Matt's reaction, you've got to give credit to Rotherham because they got the foot in the door and took the game to us, and we just never seemed to be able to wrestle control back, certainly in the full 90 minutes anyway.
Yeah, we started obviously well, as you said. Good runs, couple of good runs from Anthony Gordon, and a great ball from him to get Cenk Tosun in, who finished really, really well. And as you said, 1-0 up, and you're thinking, this should be really, really easy. You should just be going out, keeping control of the ball, get another goal, and just be professional. And like you just said there, we weren't. We just took our foot off it. And it was just, for me, what really annoys me, and this is what really annoys me on this Everton side, is the inability to just keep the ball and just move the ball around. Like, we're great when it's at the back, when the ball's at the back and we can just pass along the back line, but we can't do that in midfield. Like, that's our biggest problem, is that we can't just control the game in midfield when there's a little bit of pressure on us. The minute someone puts a press on us, we just fall to bits. We pass backwards, and then it goes, and then it'll end up just being hoofed up the pitch, or the ball will be lost. And that's the biggest problem with this Everton side, and it happens in all our games, is that we just can't find this comfortable balance, this comfortable rhythm in the way we play, where we just keep the ball, move it around, move the opposition around, nice little bit of movement, nice small passes. Everything has to be forced, everything has to be curried up to the point where we just end up giving the ball away. And it's something that I just thought was so evident in this game, and all that did was allow them to just, like you just said, grab the initiative. And obviously they had a little bit of pace. There was a lad on their right up against Luca Dean. I mean, let's be honest, the kid destroyed Luca Dean all game. And, that's what this team has got to get better at. And I don't honestly think it, I think we've said loads of times, it's about the personnel. But in a game like this, it shouldn't be about the personnel. We had international footballers out there that can't keep the ball, just can't lay the ball off 5 yards and then get themselves in a bit of space to get it back. And it's so frustrating to watch. I think that's the thing. And like you just said there, when you can see it, as well, though, when you can see what's happening in front of you, and the manager can obviously see it because you can hear him on the touchline, but the players don't react to it. That just blows my mind. When I watch other clubs, less clubs, be very, very comfortable do that. Do you know what I mean? You watch teams from the lower divisions, and you see them playing against Premier League teams, and okay, they have no cutting edge. We have teams in this Premier League like Brighton that can be very comfortable in possession. Okay, they've got no cutting edge and they can't put the ball in the back of the net. But it frustrates me massively that this Everton team can't just keep the ball.
Yeah, the midfield. I mean, I slightly disagree. Destroyed Luca Dean all day.
Oh, he did, Baz. Come on, he battered them.
Half,
he destroyed them. I'm not saying that's I'm
going to disagree.
All right.
With you, so let's not go on with the point. But the midfield, I totally agree with you. I don't understand how we've got international footballers that take so long to see a pass that even when they get a ball, they don't look like they're in control of it. Absolutely berserk at times. It's our movements as well. We'll under-hit passes. Yeah. We'll over-hit passes. But you're right about the press. I was watching this game thinking, just being convinced that in training, obviously our best players, the players who they're up against, are obviously so slow because we always seem surprised when someone presses us quickly. And that can only come from you're not getting that test every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's got to be a way that Everton can somehow correct that in training, whether it's going and buying a load of quick players or getting a team in once a week and playing against them in the middle of the week who press you quickly, because we do it all the time. It's like little triangles, but the minute someone puts a proper press on us, we panic.
Yeah.
And the amount of times we hit a 60-yard ball back to our goalkeeper is unbelievable.
But just get the under-23s drilled and play them once a week and have them pressing us, because it's horrific, and it really highlights the lack of pace in our side and how one-paced it is. I thought Andre Gomez was the biggest culprit of it.
And yet, opening 20 minutes, he looked like he was on fire.
Yeah, like he was just.
He looked like he had to turn a pace and everything, but then that soon disappeared.
Yeah, but that to me is the biggest. That's the biggest failing of this side, and as it really, I find it at times, because this. Let's be honest, right? This was a horrendous game of football. We were for the first, for the first 15, 20 minutes we were fine, but you could just see them doing that thing of going, there's nothing actually to be afraid of here. These are not coming forward. These are not putting it long, and they're not hitting the channels because Tosin can't run into the channels. And as soon as they cut out, Iwobi, James Rodriguez and Anthony Gordon, that was it. Because all they had to do was press Tom Davis and Andre Gomez. And that was it. There was Seamus Coleman wasn't going anywhere. Luca Dean, it was a good opportunity for a comeback for an hour, which is what it looked like. But he never really got going at all. And once you put a bit of pressure on Tom Davis, they haven't got and Andre Gomez. They haven't got that ability to find those kind of passes that stretch teams. And it wasn't until really Decore came on that we really did start to stretch their midfield, like doing what they done to us, running, like someone running up alongside Shane Tosin, someone getting up with them. Because at that point we had, at that point Anthony Gordon and Iwobi weren't really in the game. James Rodriguez was in flit, but you could see he wasn't really, up to the speed. You could tell, really, couldn't you? He didn't really. He didn't fancy it either, did he? Let's be honest. Especially when he got it in the face with the ball. He was just like, what am I doing here? And he wasn't fit, so there's that as well. So it felt very much at times like it was one big practice game to us. Whereas to them, once they got into it, it felt, they suddenly decided, well, no, we can do something here. And obviously in the first half, they had that glut of chances which Robin Olsen's had to make, three saves. I mean, saves that you'd expect him to make, but saves nonetheless in very quick succession. And it was that it just, the whole thing just felt, Goodison felt very empty, didn't it? I don't know why. It just, because it was like in the daylight, it felt very empty. And it just felt very, very strange, and we just couldn't pick ourselves up, which happens. It sometimes happens. It's hard enough sometimes. Third round, we were saying. I think, funny enough, we were saying in the match preview, it was a bit like we were saying, like, the League Cup games early on. If teams felt like you were playing against, like, they weren't really bothered. But to be fair, in the third round, the Cup, looking at the other results and some of the way the other games went, some of the teams, obviously in the lower divisions, probably felt like this was their chance, because Premier League teams would, had a lot of games over Christmas, and a few of them went for it. So fair play to them. But yeah, we got to our time 1-0 up, and it felt like, we'd escaped a couple of big moments without creating anything. We didn't create anything whatsoever. And then the second half came out, and again, it just carried on, and it was no real surprise to see them get a goal.
No, not at all. I mean, we do have this in the third round.
Yeah.
I was, watching it with Zach, and we were talking about the Lincoln game last year in the third round, or the year before when we got 2-0 up, Luckman and Bernard, and it was like, we'll be, at last we're gonna do what we should do to these teams, and then we give them a goal, and then ended up, scraping through 2-1. Sort of at the end when they were getting corners and that, and felt exactly the same. It is with Everton, and you can say mentality, but a lot of these players are different to the other players. You know what I mean? So it's not even like this is the same team that we've had for 5 years, 6 years, and we do the same thing every time. Because new players come in, but it always seems the same kind of flatness, and obviously fans there as well. It made it worse, but yeah, we got to half time. We hadn't done anything, like you say. Olsen, I think one save Olsen made was really good. The one in the top corner was a great save. The other ones, yeah, you're right. I'd expect them. I mean, one of them was offside anyway, but he still made a good save from it. But he'd done everything you'd expect them to. Fair play to them. They really did push on him, and like you say, felt as though, and you would do. Yeah. Playing in that game, you'd be looking, going, these don't even look that bothered, so there's nothing to beat here.
No,
Let's go and get stuck in.
They were winning all the battles.
Yeah. Did, and then the second half come out, and you're hoping that Everton step it up a little bit. You're like, we'll have a go with them and step it up, and we didn't. On Sunday, their wide player, that's when he really did start to get the better of Luca Dean. He went past them a couple of times like he wasn't even there in the second half, and it was no surprise that he scored the goal as well, because he was their best player. But even the equaliser, it was so sloppy. If we give the ball away, it comes in towards our box. Tom Davis does some stupid header back towards his goal. And then he has the peace of mind, or the presence of mind rather, to follow his header, gets level with the lad, and doesn't put any kind of challenge in. And it just rolls back beyond him and in after the far post thing. It was avoidable, but it was so almost like typical. I was expecting that anyway. It was, because it's again doing half-hearted things. Davis, all right, he's headed it wrong. It's gone back towards his goal. Follows it in. That's exactly what you do. Go and put a challenge in, or go and stand up so the lad can't get a shot away. He doesn't. It's half-assed. Ends up in the net, and then it's fair game then, isn't it? You're looking at it going 1-1. Well, there's nothing stopping them. The lad up front, Smith, I think, the big lad up front was causing us problems, and I think it was only when the manager brought Yerry Mina on, the defence settled down. Godfrey was okay, Keane was okay, but they were getting... to be honest, I think it was the full-backs who were causing us a problem. There was one in the... Seamus doing his thing of not closing people down again in the first half, and there was the midfield not helping the defence. It was just a little bit frustrating, but I think when he put the Corey on and Yerry Mina, it did kind of turn the game back in our favour. Not convincingly, but it did kind of give us a bit more control. And he had to take the two wide players off, who I thought did themselves no favours either. Anthony Gordon had a great opening 12 minutes and then disappeared, and looked like he didn't know what he was doing half the time. And Iwobi was in and out without really doing anything. He didn't really get beyond his man. And the times he did, his crossing was shocking. So both players were subbed, and rightly so. But it was, like I said, for me, it was only when Decore and Mina came on that we actually looked like we wrestled a bit of control back in the game.
Yeah, they definitely settled it down. They definitely got a grip on what we were doing. Decore wasn't letting them have anything in midfield, was running past them, started causing them trouble, and Mina was dealing with everything in the air. They brought George Hurst on as well, and he looked quite decent in the air as well. Has got a decent spring, but we dealt with that once Mina was in. And in terms of, there's a lot of little things like you just said there. Seamus hasn't played a lot of football. Dean, first game back. Even Iwobi's, was out for a game. James has been out. Shane Tosin up front. The makeup of the midfield. I mean, again, I just thought the whole game illustrated how important it is that we have to get somebody. Like we said this when we had Ghana, or certainly after Ghana had left, about the idea of how Ghana was so important that we needed to have a backup Ghana. Now I feel like it's the same with Decore.
Yeah.
I feel like Decore is so important that we need to have a backup for him, like someone who can play alongside him, but also someone, you're talking about the irony with Decore is he's ended up playing an hour, and he hasn't started the game to give him some rest, and he's ended up playing an hour. And that's the most frustrating thing from the whole thing is managers obviously.
But that's the biggest compliment you can pay to Rotherham, that we've had to put 4 first team players on to get the game, because they were doing so well and the other lads weren't. But you're right, he's played an hour, but we've said for a while, haven't we, that another player we need is an energetic midfield player in with Decore and Allen. And when you take Decore out, it just shows you, like we just said there at the weekend, when he's not in that midfield, there's nobody else that can do that job. Nobody. No matter who we have in that squad, even the lads we've got out at the moment, Gabam, let's be honest, we've no clue because we've not seen him. But Delph can't do that, and he brought, the only one I wouldn't have brought on was Sigurdsson, because he's not going to exactly change anything, is he? But just, we haven't got that makeup of midfield player, and that's got to be a real priority, I think, on the list, to go with like a right back and another forward. When you're looking at trying to build the squad out, mean this month, because it'll be to happen this month, but moving. But if we get to the sun, still not really done anything, they've got to go and get an energetic, staying kind of stature as Decore. You can go and do the bits around midfield so that it's great when we've got him. But if we have to leave Decore out for a game or whatever, the midfield drop off isn't huge like we see.
Definitely. Because the minute he came on, just everything about him, his pace, his stature, his physicality, just can get round the pitch so much easier. I'd say Tom Davis and Andre Gomez, they don't do anything like, of any note. Tom can sit in front of the back four and get the ball and give the ball. And Andre Gomez, you almost feel like it's in the same vein. They can't get round the pitch. It's worrying how, hit those two plus Sigurdsson. Listen, it's nothing we didn't know. We knew this at the end of last season, but and obviously that's why we went out and bought 2 centre midfielders. But it's so obvious we need another one now to start competing. Whether it be someone like, an Onyongo that they bring up from the under-23s, I don't know, and obviously he's not really, there's no real sign of him coming to the first team, or apart from playing, training with them. But you'd think that someone like that would be put onto the bench. Obviously Ellis Sims was put on the bench, but we didn't see anything of him, because of the game was so close. And that's sad as well. That's what annoys me as well, is because, you can make that many subs, and we've seen a game where a bloody fella from Towie gets 5 minutes of football, whether you think that's right or wrong.
He's signed for
I know, but
so he's a good player.
I did see a few people from within football being very, very critical of that. In other words,
he is a decent player.
No, I know, but it does seem like it was a bit of a publicity stunt.
Well, maybe.
No, I know. I'm just saying. But my point was, My point was, when you've got teams who can bring on players and give them an opportunity, you know, and we've got a lad on the bench who, you know, we know Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to be missing the Wolves game, so, you know, we might be on the bench again. But when you just think, get the game won and let this lad get 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you know, you never know, he might do something and knock one in. And for that, it's just that's the most annoying thing. We're always bemoaning the fact that our 23 players don't get the chance. It's because the first team players never get set it up so they get a chance. Because some of them are not taking their chance, and that's the most frustrating thing. But you know, right at the end, obviously we had the goal disallowed. I mean, everyone knows the simple fact is if this game had been playing at their ground, that goal's a goal. It's as simple as that because there's no VAR. It's an absolute
That's a nonsense.
it's an absolute nonsense that again continually you allowed VAR in a game and not allowed in another game. It's just absolutely nonsense.
In the same competition.
Yeah, in the same competition, which is just unbelievably pathetic. Again, though, I don't even know if Tosun was offside. I mean, if they're saying Mina was offside, yeah, but Mina's got nothing to do with the goal. So,
when you looked at the lines, Tosun seems to be behind the lad's hand in the line.
Yeah, and they seem to be measuring Mina.
Yeah,
on the picture.
Weird. It was a bit weird.
Absolute nonsense.
The great ball in.
Yeah, it was and it should have been the winner, and that should have been it. But obviously, it was disallowed. And we've had to go into extra time. But coming on to extra time, I did get a feeling straight away that Everton wanted to get the game sewn up as quickly as possible. There just seemed to be an attitude change, which would have been fantastic if it had been there for the whole game. But it wasn't. And obviously, great ball by James Rodriguez, gets the Corey in basically the same channel Tosun had been in, and he finishes it brilliantly. And it just gives that little bit of breathing room. Bernard should have wrapped it up when he hits the post, unbelievably. And we had one or two other opportunities around the same time, but we saw the game out. They didn't really have anything. They had a corner actually in the last minute of normal time, which you do. So I think Duncan mentioned it, didn't he? Saying you're a bit of a heart in the mouth moment because you're playing a championship side. You do expect a little bit better. We dealt with set pieces quite well all day, to be honest. But we got through extra time, and that's again, like a championship side, they're probably going to tire even while we keep the ball. But that's in extra time, and I know it is extra time, and plays a little bit tighter. But for me, that showed how you control a game, how you move a team around, and that's the most frustrating thing. Is like if we'd started that 20 minutes in, and just started moving and having periods of just keeping control of the game and saying to the opposition, right, now and again you're going to get an opportunity, but not all the time. Just now and again, because all we're going to do is just keep the ball and not let you get going into this game. The game management, I've been saying this for probably 18 months, 2 years. Game management from some of our players, and these are why they are these kind of players. Is so poor. It's so poor to just take the sting out the game. Just slow it down. Play it at your pace, not their pace. And until we get better players, you can just do that. You can just. I think it's going to be a lot of the same for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We did. We came out for extra time. We did look like the manager had a word, and said that get this done or whatever. Or maybe it was the players just, get it done because you don't penalties after this and all that. And we did. It was a great ball, great play from James, great ball and a great finish from Decore, which is what we want to see more of. Yeah, really. But it's just the fact that because we haven't got another one of him in the midfield, he can't be that player that breaks through a lot of times. But and you're right, Bernard should have wrapped it up. And we had a couple of other moments where we probably should have killed the game off. But you are always hanging on when it's 2-1. They had a cross to the far post. It's got knocked back and the lad just couldn't do anything with it. So like you say, they kept going, but we did keep the ball better in extra time, and we did move it a bit and have them chasing shadows a little bit, and were able to see it out. But it was disjointed, which I suppose when you look back at everything, all the reasons you can say maybe that was to be expected. But you do expect better from Premier League footballers, lads who are on good wages, lads who are playing at the supposedly the highest level. You expect better, and we continually prove when we make changes that the lads who come in simply aren't good enough. Maybe you can get away with Tom Davis playing in front of the back four in your normal team, and he does a good job because you've got Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin in there, and maybe Alan's in there, and people like that, and Luca Dean's a full pelt. Yeah. One of them can play in there. The same when it's Andre Gomez, or the same when it's Gylfi Sigurdsson. But when you put them all together, it doesn't work. We've proved that. We proved it in the end of last season, and it's proven it the times we've had to do it again this season. Is that, and that I guess that's not going to change until we bring better players in to make the squad better. These lads who've had the chance and have been here a few years aren't good enough. Simple as. Some are, but some aren't. And when you put them together, it doesn't work. Like I say, in their own right, they're probably decent footballers, but they just don't knit together. And what we see is what we see, which is, when teams quickly and get in our face and got our best team, we struggle. We struggle with it, and it ends up the amount of times we passed the ball back from our own half to our goalkeeper at the weekend was just unbelievable. There was one in the second half. We were 5, 6, 7 yards in there half, and we passed it all the way back because someone put the press on us, and there was a pass inside which would have took us forward. And it's that kind of thing. I understand that at 1-0 in the last seconds, you don't want to make any risk, but you can't do that right the way through. And I think that's what we'll be better at. And sadly, the lads who are coming in aren't going to get any better. They're all at ages where they are what they are. So, positive. Well, Lucker and Kunku, who thought right when he come on, he was positive. He wasn't great, don't get me wrong, he wasn't amazing, but I thought he was positive on the ball, and he did try to get forward. And in fact, there was one where he picked the ball up from the goalkeeper, and if Tosin would have just given it back, he was in with the keeper, and Tosin hit it wide, and I think it was just after we'd gone 2-1 up. We had a chance to really put it to bed, and Cenk Tosin just sliding back in, and he's in on goal there, and just little things like that. That was probably the biggest positive, the fact of seeing in Kunku for a little bit and seeing that he was, he is a decent footballer. He's still got something to learn, but we won at the end of the day, mate. We've seen teams like Leeds go out and, things like that yesterday, and you've just got to be grateful that we're in the next round, and hopefully we get a decent draw again, and, we'll know we were playing in the 4th and the 5th round if we're successful. So tonight, which is a bit mad, but it is annoying because especially scoring that early as well, you just think, show them the respect they deserve and put them to bed early doors, and then you can bring Ellis Sims on for 20 minutes and give the kid a little taste, a little work hard, and you might get another little taste of this kind of thing, and you can not have to put the core on, and people, Holgate could come on if you need, and we ended up having to put our 4 players on who were our first team players, and ended up missing out on the opportunity of seeing Sims. But Wilson got another good workout. That was he couldn't do anything about the goal. It was back across him. And that's probably, other than Mina and Decore, I don't really think anybody else on the goal really covered them too much glory, because it was a frustrating afternoon. But
as you said there, we're in the next round. As you said, a few players have had another 90 minutes under the belt, or 120 minutes under the belt, that needed it. And that'll probably satisfy the manager that he's got those players now a little bit more time. And again, we know there's injury problems ahead of the Wolves game, and Tosin getting a goal. In his eyes, he got a couple of goals, so in his eyes, and one didn't stand, but in fact of just that sharpness, if he's needed as a player, he'll probably feel more confident. I'm not confident in the player, but he'll be more confident in himself. And we're through to the 4th round, and that's all you can. That's what happens, isn't it? It's the cup. It's the 3rd round. That's why these games are never, like we were talking last week, trying to remember memorable 3rd rounds. They never are any at all, because they're like this. They're just like games where you just get massively frustrated. But you've got to remember as well, it's their big day. It's not our big day. and we've just come off a lot of games over Christmas, and there's tiredness and there's injuries, and you've got to lump a team together, and it doesn't always go to plan, but we're through. We're in the fourth round, we're in the hat, and that's all that really matters. We've not learned anything we didn't already know about a lot of these players. So there you go.
We won the game.
No, I know. That's all.
No, I'm saying that's all you can. We're never going to, when you're changing your team, unless you're putting some youngsters in and giving them having a look at them, you're not really going to learn anything, because we know with the squad, don't we? And we've won the game and we move on. And if we'd have won 5-0, we'd be sat here going, oh, we played really well, but then you'd still have people going, well, it was Rotherham. So they're almost that, you know, there are no win situations. Like I said in me match reaction, Rotherham deserve all the credit for Saturday, not us. We won. Great. And they had a really good go, so fair play to them.
Yeah. Fair play and I'd go and buy that kid who played on the right. You would do in the old days, wouldn't you? In the old days, he'd be signed by now, that kid. He'd be straight in there.
Someone would.
Paul Wilkinson there. There you go. Nothing else to say, really. Won the game. We haven't got a midfielder without the core, and Alan's back in 2 weeks, hopefully, so there you go.
Well, that's the good thing, isn't it?
Goal for Cenk as well.
That's a positive.
Goal for Cenk, and no controversy. No controversy whatsoever.
Let's move on.
There you go. Right, that's it. Nothing else to talk about. We're through. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want more great videos, join us over on Patreon. The link will be down at the bottom. There you go. See you later.